Welcome to The Explainer. With all the geopolitical turmoil out there, you'd be forgiven for thinking that climate change has kind of taken a back seat for big business. But is that really the case? Today, we're going to dig into the data, the strategies, and the new investor playbook that's actually reshaping the entire global economy.
Okay, here's how we're going to break it down. First up, we'll look at why climate has become such a huge deal for business. Then, we'll get into the new playbook investors are using to make decisions. After that, we'll check the global report card, see how companies are actually doing. And finally, we'll explore this big shift from just doing the bare minimum to making climate a core part of their strategy. So, let's start with a big question. With everything else going on in the world, do investors really, truly still care about climate?
Let's not beat around the bush. The answer is a huge, resounding yes. Seriously, this isn't some fringe movement anymore. It's gone completely mainstream, and it's all being driven by two incredibly powerful forces: risk and opportunity.
Get this. Over 80% of the world's biggest asset owners now have sustainable investment baked right into their strategies, and climate is their number one focus. They're looking at it from two sides. On the one hand, they see massive risk. We're talking physical dangers like floods and wildfires that are set to ramp up dramatically by 2050. But on the other hand, they see this incredible opportunity, a chance to fuel a massive global industrial transformation.
And check this out. This is what's really wild. If you were to bundle up all the companies that provide green solutions, everything from renewable energy to flood difference systems, and you treat that as one single industry, well, it's the second best performing sector in the entire world, right behind tech. That's huge. Okay, so if investors are this all in on climate, how do they actually make their decisions? Well, they can't just guess, right? They need good, solid, comparable data. And that need has kicked off this huge global push for standardized reporting. You can think of groups like the International Sustainability Standards Board, or ISSB, as creating a single universal language for companies to talk about climate stuff. And investors and banks use that data to analyze companies in a really structured way.
So here's the playbook, the step-by-step. First, they look for the companies that are actually providing climate solutions. For pretty much everyone else, they dig into the quality of their transition plan, their game plan for a low-carbon future. For those in high-carbon sectors like oil and gas, they look at plans for a managed phase-down, basically a structured way to move away from fossil fuels. And based on all that, they tweak their investments. They'll overweight the leaders, place bigger bets on them, and underweight the laggards.
All right, so we have the playbook, but how are companies actually, doing? Are they passing the test? Well, the good news is reporting has gotten way, way better.
Just look at the world's 4,000 biggest companies. An incredible 65% of them have now set climate targets. That is a massive shift from just a few years back. And it's not just talk. They're actually reporting the data to back it up.
And you can see that progress right here. When it comes to their own direct emissions, what the experts call Scope 1 and 2, the reporting is pretty solid, especially in developed markets where it's almost 90%. Emerging markets are catching up too. But, and this is a big but, there's a huge challenge looming for everyone: reporting on emissions from your supply chain, or Scope 3.
Trying to track these supply chain emissions, man, that is incredibly complex. It's the real frontier here, where most of the hard work still needs to be done. And honestly, this complexity has created this sense of, data overload for a lot of companies.
As Mardi McBrien from the World Business Council for Sustainable Development puts it, it's kind of like that old saying, be careful what you wish for. For years, businesses asked for a single set of rules. Well, now they have them, and they're facing the tough reality of actually putting them into practice. And that's created this real tension, right? You've got investors on one side pushing for more progress, while companies on the other feel buried in paperwork and are starting to wonder if anyone's even using all this data. So how do we fix this? How do we bridge that gap? Well, the key might lie in totally reframing the conversation around one single super important document, the transition plan.
And the crucial thing to understand here is that this isn't just another compliance exercise. It's not just more reporting for the sake of it. It's supposed to be a core document that shapes a company's entire strategy.
Think about it. Instead of getting lost and drowning in a sea of endless data points, a good transition plan pulls all the most important, forward-looking info into one place. It cuts through the noise and becomes this powerful tool for talking with investors. And when a company gets it right, the benefits are very, very real. And this isn't just theory.
A strong plan can have a real direct impact on the bottom line. For instance, the World Business Council shared this great example of a real estate company in Hong Kong that baked its transition plan right into its core strategy. And you know what happened? Their insurance premiums went down. Why? Because they proved they were managing their risks better. And that's the whole point, right? This is what moves climate action from being just a cost center to being a genuine driver of value. The smartest companies are treating their transition plan not as an obligation, but as their business strategy, period. And that really leaves us with a fascinating final thought. Maybe, just maybe, a company's transition plan isn't just about climate anymore. Maybe it's become the single most important document, the ultimate litmus test for understanding which businesses are actually built to last and which ones will thrive in the decades to come.